Hi there again. Thank you so much for your interest in my last video, which was last week. And I talked about two-step practice using God circle technique. And I emphasized about making sure you intentionally slow down in your trouble spots to mitigate that rather than running away from it. And so I got some great comments, and there was a lot of interest in that topic. So I'm still kind of new to creating videos on YouTube. I mean, I do have videos, but it was more like showcase my students or, have my own project. But I created this new online course that is launching tomorrow night. And I decided to add more content to my YouTube channel to have more people get to know me and just share about my teaching philosophy. Yes, truth be told, I started doing this because I'm here to promote my product, but I really love talking about this stuff. So please share what you're interested. I love talking about like teaching and learning. I see myself as like a scientist, watching and observing people and my students and, trying to figure out why some things work and why other things don't work and why certain things work for some people, but it doesn't work for other people. So if I could have another career, I would go into like a neuroscience or something. Is that a thing, neuroscience? But anyways, so I thought I would talk a little bit more about practice, because I think there are a lot of tutorials out there that teach you like, oh, you gotta, this is how you play this song or this piece. But maybe what people need is more of like a guidance from a teacher. And I love to do that. So I'm gonna try to have maybe a series of different topics on practice. And today, what I want to talk about is what are the components of a piano practice. So first thing is very obvious, right? It's the repertoire. It could be a song or piece or tune, depending on what kind of genre you play, you would call it differently, but they're songs and repertoires. You can divide that part into two. One part are songs that the repertoire that you know well, you've learned well, and you can play well. So you should continue to practice those as part of like maintaining and refining and having that comfort level. I just tell all my students, if you show up to a dinner party and they said, oh, do you play the piano? We have a beautiful piano. Can you play something? You want to be like, yeah, I can play three or four or five, six. If you have like a dozen that you can play on the spot, like you're in a really good place. I know this is like if you're playing jazz, yeah, 12 is nothing, right? You just need to be able to play like bunch of pieces, but that's really not the case. In the classical genre, like people are practicing, like a difficult piece for months and they still don't feel like they can get up and play. And I don't think that serves the student, the performer, or the community really well. I'm a big believer of having pieces that you can comfortably play at any moment. And those pieces are not going to be like really technically difficult pieces, because technically difficult pieces need more maintenance and they do need more like a warm up. So I'm talking about pieces that are much more easily accessible without a warm up. So yeah, you have those old pieces, and then you have probably new things that you're working on. So those are two things, two different things. Another thing that can be part of and should be part of, I'm a big believer of this, is technical practices and technical exercises. When we talk about technical exercises, we are basically talking about two main things that develop our technique. and those are scales and arpeggios. And I really want to talk a little bit more about this topic, and that's probably going to be my next video, but keep that in mind. Technical exercises. Okay, so we have three things. And then another thing could be sight reading. Some people really want to learn how to read music better and well. Other people don't care. And I think it's fine, especially if you're an adult learner. You got to do what you feel called to do and what is worth your time. And maybe you're not interested in like reading music better, but I realize that many adults have this desire to be able to read music. I mean, many people who have never taken piano lessons have told me that like they really want to learn how to read music. And I think it's because it's like, you know, it's like a coded language. And how cool is it to be able to like decode that? And when you decode it, it makes a beautiful music. And so I do think reading is a real crucial skill if you want to get far as a musician, if you want to get far as a pianist. You know, I've told my students that it's my reading skill that has always given me a job in music, like being able to accompany, you know, anything, choir or instrument, or like show up to a gig and be able to play a piece and record. These are the things that give you jobs, and your reading skill is really crucial to that. So there is sight reading. Another part is improvisation. Now, if you're a jazz pianist, you're improvising, you know, like that is just part of your training. But if you're doing more of a traditional classical music, you might never have improvised. I start improvisation with my students like day one, like even before actually they start their piano lessons. When I have my interview with them, I do improvisation because I think it is cultural thing. If you're empowered to make music and just you know, explore music in that way, that is how you develop your own voice. So I think improvisation is a really crucial part. Regardless of what genre you're playing, you don't have to play jazz, and you don't have to do jazz improvisation. There are different kinds of improvisations. And sometimes improvisation is just listening to sound and you're not really trying to create a piece. So I believe that these are the 5 components that make up a piano practice. You could do all 5. You could try to hit all 5 in your not lessons, your practice. Or you could try to make up, you know, maybe do 3 things in one practice and try to like include all over a course of 1 week. If you like really get into improvisation and you're improvising for like an hour and you didn't do your technical exercises or repertoires, that's great. I mean, whatever you really get into and not get into a rut is a good thing. Just as a basis, you want to be creative with your practices. If you do the same thing every day, you're not gonna see the result. It's just like if you're going to the gym, and I'm kind of talking to myself because I've been doing the same thing, and you just do the same thing. Yeah, you get better at it, but you're not challenging your mind or your body more than you could with the time that you have. So try to be creative with the time that you are practicing. You know, that means like including things that you're not doing maybe, you know, as much. And mixing up your repertoire, mixing up the order, mixing up the different technical exercises. So this is basically like the different components that can go into a piano practice. And the basic concept that I want to communicate with you today is to try to include all of these things in different mixes for your practice. Now, you might not care about what I say. You might be like, no, I just want to work on my pieces. Well, that's fine. And you don't care about, I talked about like some people don't care about sight reading, but maybe you don't care about technical exercises. I have a student, like he keeps asking me like, do I really need to practice my scales and chords? And it's like, well, you don't need to, but it would help you if you did. But he's not really interested in it, and I'm not going to push him to do it. But I know that if you don't do these things that I talked about to a certain degree, you're gonna be limited. So keep that in mind. It really comes down to the question of what kind of musician do you want to be? What kind of pianist do you want to be? And if you want to go far, and if you want to have the flexibility and versatility in the long run, you do want to include all of this in your mix. So something that I didn't mention in the mix is stuff like ear training and rhythm exercises. These are what I call skill building exercises. You're not playing the piano, but you're building the skills you need to become a competent musician. And these are important things. But if you're doing your practice right, you would be doing these exercises. Like, for example, if you're practicing your scales right, you would be doing ear training through that. If you're practicing your pieces right, you would be doing ear training through that. And like you would be working on rhythm because you would be trying to be more precise and maybe use the metronome. So you could do those exercises separately using, like, I love using iPad apps with my students. You could do that. But if you're doing your piano practice right and you're at a certain level of knowing how to do these things, you would be doing these exercises naturally. So I'm gonna probably next week or so talk about each of these practices and how you can get the most out of it. And I do want to talk about like what I think is the most important thing to do when you're doing these practices. My course launches tomorrow night, Simple and Beautiful Piano for Adult Beginners. So if you are interested in taking piano lessons, maybe you have taken some beginner piano courses or lessons, and you still want to have like a stronger foundation, and I have these beautiful pieces that are written for beginners, please check it out. My link is below. And then watch out for my next tutorial. And I think maybe to celebrate the launch of my course, maybe there's going to be a freebie too. All right. So thank you. It was good talking with you. I hope this is helpful. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my YouTube channel too. Bye.